Good morning and welcome to Business Morning here on Business Day Television. It's Friday and my name is Deborah Ezeh. Thank you for starting your day with us. Now let's move to the first conversation for today. It's mid-year and Nigeria's economic scoreboard is showing some green shoots, lower inflation, a stronger Naira, upbeat GDP growth, and an investment market that's buzzing. From mutual funds surging 50% to bullish equities market, the first half of 2025 is painting a brighter picture. But beneath the optimism, questions linger on debt, oil prices, and just how realistic our 1 trillion US dollar economic target really is. This morning, we unpack the wins, the risk, and the opportunities in Nigeria's mid-year economic performance. Joining us to have this conversation is Samuel Oyekanmi. He is the Research and Insight Lead at Norrenberger Financial Group. Good morning, Samuel. Thank you for joining us on Business Morning this morning.
Good morning, Deborah. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
All right, so let's go straight into it. So our conversations will be divided into this morning. We're going to be looking at the economic aspect and the investment market. So first off, Nigeria's first half numbers, it looks quite encouraging. What do you think are the key drivers behind the improvement across inflation, exchange rates, PMI, GDP, and investment?
Well, interesting dynamics we've seen so far in the first half of the year, and even into already in the second half of the year. So first, I want to look at it from FX side of things. There's been some level of stability in terms of exchange rates, and that's on the back of several reforms targeted at ensuring some level of stability and then transparency in terms of how tradings are being done at official foreign exchange markets, and also trying to bridge the arbitrage, right, between the official market and then the parallel market. I think the CBN has done quite a lot around that, and that has materialized into some level of stability in the exchange rate, being around 1,005 to 1,550 so far this year. Look at it again from the part of inflation. There's been a business exercise earlier in the year which saw inflation come down from around 34% to as of that time 24%, and beyond them we've also seen it trickle down to about 22.22% in June. And of course, that can be attributed to quite a number of things. So first, there's the base effect. We had very high numbers from last year. So comparing that to this year, of course, there's going to be some mild decline. And then we've also seen improvement in terms of energy cost, right? The pass-through effect of high inflationary policies from 2 years ago and last year, which is, of course, liberalization of the exchange rate, removal of fuel subsidy. Those effects are beginning to taper down on final consuming prices, and that had also impacted on inflation. Generally, business sentiment are beginning to improve, which you would also see from PMI numbers. You see green there. So we quite have a number of greens across that dashboard, except for things around debt sustainability, the amount of money supplying the economy, which of course would have some impacts on inflation. But generally, it looks like we are at a point of recalibration, just like the title of our report says. Of course, we've gone through huge shocks. This could be that calm that could lead us into some upsides going forward.
All right. So Norrenberger projects GDP growth at 4.05% for 2025. How realistic is this in the light of ongoing challenges like debt sustainability and oil prices volatility?
Yeah, I think it's quite possible. Of course, there are also downside risks along debt sustainability, especially particularly from the crude oil, international crude oil market. We've seen improved supply in recent weeks, but has also seen crude oil prices have some form of decline, which would naturally impact Nigeria. But what we've also seen in recent times is that our output has also improved, which is also a positive for Nigeria. But we see Nigeria growing by at least 4% to 4.1% for the year on the back of where we currently stand and where we're heading to. First, the rebasing exercise for the GDP is really poised to showing some very interesting dynamics. As we see Q1 numbers, for example, we see interesting sectors coming up from the lot as drivers of the economic growth. We see things like entertainment, telecommunications have been a mainstay in recent years and is also primed to do that again this year. Banking sector, in fact, the financial sector as a whole is going to drive significant economic growth. As you could see, capital market has done over 40%. The equities market has done over 40% already so far this year and could still do pretty much more. There's a capitalization exercise in the banking sector that is also primed to drive aggressive growth from that area. Insurance sector has also seen some reforms as signed by the president last week, which also drove significant growth again in insurance stock over the course of the week. We believe that a combination of all this and also the positive side of the trade, the FX liberalization impact on our exports, right, in terms of Naira value, how that is also going to play out on the GDP figures. And then government aggressive spending in terms of infrastructural deficit that we currently have. The federal government budget for this year is at, of course, the highest level that we've seen in Nigerian history, and that is also primed to also drive some level of growth. Putting all this together, we think it's quite possible, except for those downside risks, but we think the Nigerian economy could achieve 4 to 4.1% real growth this year.
All right. So the report also said that Nigeria needs at least 22% nominal GDP growth annually and a stronger Naira to hit the 1 trillion Naira US dollar economy target by 2030. Do you think this is a feasible target, or are we being overly ambitious?
Well, interesting question. It is not impossible, but it is a very steep hill to climb. Because if currently now, based on the base figures, our GDP is around $235 billion, and then we are aiming at $1 trillion by 2030, which means we need to multiply at least 4 times in the next 5 years. That's a huge one. But is it impossible? It is not. Some of the policies by the government in recent times is aimed at driving that level of aggressive growth. I think also this rebasing exercise is also going to be able to reflect some more industries that could drive, like I mentioned earlier, entertainment has been a major buzzing industry in recent years, but has not really been captured in the grand scheme of things from the official channels, right? Music entertainment, movie entertainment has really grown in recent times, and it continues to do that in terms of social media content creation. Those are also very good part. When you try to mix that up with the mainstay in terms of trade, Nigeria is taking advantage of African Free Continental Trade Agreement, for example, and also industrialization that we hope that we are seeing currently. We could achieve that, but it's really a very steep hill. And to achieve that, I think there's really need, as you'd also see in the report, that the public and the private sector really need to have a handshake, a collaboration that ensures that government enables the private sector to bring in capital to drive this much growth that you would want to see. And that growth really needs to be all round, and it can't be just sideline into one industry like probably the financial sector. It has to really be across the spectrum: agriculture, manufacturing, industrial goods, consumer goods. We really need to still see those finances, those capital move around in order to drive some level of holistic growth.
All right. So still on the economy, headline inflation is expected to moderate further in H2. So how might this shape the central bank's monetary policy direction in the coming months?
Well, expectedly, if we continue to see inflation taper down at 22 now, the chances are the CBN would start to consider interest rate cuts. And of course, as reiterated several times, the governor of the CBN has mentioned that the current policy is orthodox in its approach, which means that to fight inflation, they will hike rates in order to. But when inflation begins to taper down, of course, decisions will move towards a dovish approach. So we expect that we might be able to see at least one rate cut this year, if that, and that's on the back of the trend that we see in terms of inflation, which we think is going to continue. Just earlier in the week, Dangote Refinery announced the reduction in depot petrol prices, which we also think is also going to impact on the other players also. So generally, we see petrol prices have some level of decline, depending, of course, on the region that you stay. And that is also going to, of course, drive inflation on the energy side of things, which has ripple effect on many other indicators, right, generally. So I believe that we might see inflation taper down, and when that continues, of course, the CBN will look towards a dovish approach.
All right. So mutual funds, we are moving our focus to the investment and market now. Mutual funds surged 50% in the first half of 2025 to 5.9 trillion naira. What do you think is driving this growth, and can it be sustained?
I think the growth is, you can look at it from two sides. So one is there's been increased participation in the market, both from the investor side of things and from the side of the players. So if you look at the number of funds we used to have in, say, 4 years ago, it used to be a little bit over 100 funds. But right now we have it around 205 funds. So it means that there are increased players in the industry, and that's quite welcome and good. In terms of Nigerians also, they've been able to accept mutual fund as a viable vehicle to increase wealth, right? It's also been seen as a viable vehicle to also invest without the hassle of thinking around what's the equities market saying today, or what's fixed income market saying today. Does the fact that there is a manager that can help you manage this fund, and of course do right by you, ensuring that you get maximum return. I think that has also played out well for Nigerians, and that has driven increased participation. Over 5.9 trillion naira, and it's also poised to grow further, right? There's also been improved returns in terms of, for example, money market has been quite bullish in so far this year, growing over 80% in the first half of the year, and could still do more, despite the fact that we're seeing interest rates beginning to slow down. Money market still offers around 19 to 20% net returns for investors, and that's quite good. There's also been improved new segments of investment. So there's the ethical side of things that has grown astronomically over 200% in the first half of the year. There's also things around specialized funding like green fund. Nigerians are now being very considerate around ESG, and mutual fund is already offering that. I think that has also increased the sentiment around players being able to invest in that part of things. I think it's quite sustainable. 50% so far this year. We are primed for more growth.
All right. We've seen high yield categories attracting investors. Do you expect a shift in investor appetite if interest rates are cut later this year?
Yeah, of course. At every point in time, there's always the need to readjust your investment portfolio. At no point in time would anyone want to just remain fixed at any point. And of course, it's a function of decisions by what is happening generally in the markets. So before now, we have high interest rates, and it means short-term instruments have very nice incentive, and we saw a lot of funds moving towards a money market type of investment. But the anticipation is that there's going to be a rate cut, there's going to be some form of adjustment. And what we've seen so far this year is that investors already priced or started playing with the assumption that there's going to be interest rate, and that's why I see a lot of funds moving towards the equities market. Equities market has now done 40%, and we'll still do more depending on what inflation, for example, prints. And we're expecting inflation numbers today. If that also, of course, continues to moderate, the chances are CBN will consider the dovish move. And if that also happens, we might see some reallocation of funds. Even within the fixed income space, we can start seeing a lot of people wanting to go long rather than short in order to lock in the current high yields that we still have. And then, of course, some funds could also move from fixed income side to other areas like equities or some form of alternative investments.
All right. The equity market, if you agree with me, has been bullish so far. So should investors brace for more profit taking in the second half of this year, or is there room for more upsides?
There's always room, but then I would my recommendation would be cautious optimism. Like I said, the market has really moved so far. A number of the stock they have appreciated significantly. And what you might find is that some of these stocks might currently be overpriced. By the time you look at their numbers for H2 and 2025, and when for some of them who have not released, when they do release, you might see some level of correction. And we've seen that in some of the stocks so far. We've seen some stocks that had recorded significant growth, but they are pulled back in recent days and recent week. Even just yesterday, one of the insurance stocks also lost almost 10%, despite gaining significantly earlier in the week. So we'll see those temporary points where investors are trying to take profits. But generally, I think the market is going to be bullish. The year is already good, and I think it's just only going to get better. But by the time you're choosing your stock, you need to know the right time to come in and then understand why exactly are you investing. If you're investing for the long term, then of course, you have nothing to worry about. If someone who's an active trader, you want to be able to consider when to go in and when you need to take profit, because those times will be there, but the market will generally be bullish so far for the rest of the year.
All right, so take us through before taking us through the risk, Norrenberger's equity portfolio, it outperformed the ASI significantly. So what strategies or sectors are behind strong returns?
So in the beginning of the year, we had like an investment strategy around coming up with the equities portfolio that outperforms the market. Last year we had similar portfolio. We wanted to outperform the market, and we did about 50% in return for the year. And this year we also looked at, based on this kind of report that we released, we looked at the sectors of the economy that are primed to do well. We looked at things around telecommunications. We looked at consumer goods and banking. And the reason why we did that was telecommunications, for example, MTN hit a significant downturn in the last 1 year as a result of losses on the back of FX devaluation. We also look at consumer goods that also lost significantly also as a result of FX. Banking stocks, as a result of capitalization, they have good upsides. They are quite solid stocks. They are dividend-paying stocks. Agriculture also, Nigerians will continue to eat, like I always say, and there was always a market for agriculture. So we looked at these sectors again, and then we were strategic around it. We also had a mix of energy and oil and gas in there, and some stocks that could be quite solid. And then doing that, we're able to of course have some level of confidence that we will be able to outperform the market. And as of yesterday, the market is already doing about 75% year-to-date gain, which is almost times 2 of what the ASI is doing. And that's just on the back of understanding of the sectors that is primed to do well from the macro side of things. And then we're able to trickle down into the equities market. And that helped us to position well and be able to achieve this kind of return so far.
All right, so what market risks should investors keep an eye on as we move into the second half of 2025?
Yeah, we are already in the second half of the year. So of course, any investor, you really need to keep your eye on the ball. You need to be informed. I think one of the major factors why a number of people tend to lose in the market is lack of information. If you keep your ears on the ground, always being informed about what's happening, both from the macro side and then from the micro side, it helps you make informed decision. Also, whoever your manager is, fund manager, be it from the fixed income side or the equity side, you might as well also reach out to them to also advise you as you go in. But then generally, the market, I think the economy is quite good. So far this year, we've seen rating agencies upgrading Nigeria's credit outlook. So that gives you an indication that the economy is quite good. Foreign portfolio investors have been quite positive about the Nigerian markets. We've seen a lot of inflows in terms of FX, right? And that has enabled some level of stability in the exchange rate. If there's going to be any form of downside, I want to look around things around global international crude oil price. But of course, when you are able to improve output, the chances that you're able to offset that balance in terms of what the decline in crude oil prices would have brought about. And I think that's quite good. But then again, overall, you need to be informed about the market. You really need to look at the market with more intent, take advice, reach out to fund managers and experts that could also help you with your decision making in terms of investment.
Thank you so much. We're speaking to Samuel Oyekanmi. He's the Research and Insight Lead at Norrenberger Financial Group. Thank you so much for your time this morning on Business Morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll go on a quick break now. When we come back, we're going to have the second part of our conversation on Business Morning. Just stay with us. Supply chains. Technology is no longer just an enabler. It's a key driver of economic growth. In 2025, innovation is rewriting business model, redefining competition, and creating new markets at an unprecedented pace. But what does this mean for businesses looking to stay ahead? And how can companies, big and small, leverage tech to thrive in this fast changing landscape? Joining me now to unpack this trend is Muyiwa Oluwadia. He's the founder, Genosco AI. Good morning, Mr. Muyiwa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for having me.
It's good to have you. All right, let's go straight into it. AI. So, how would you describe the state of the tech-driven economy now in 2025 compared to 5 years ago?
Now, first we look at it locally and we look at it globally. A lot has happened, a lot has matured. One of the, like say, positives that came out of the pandemic of 2020 was employers giving most employees the opportunity to work remotely, and that has really reshaped the economy of work, and that has allowed a lot of people from the global south, the third world, to really be able to participate a lot in the global economy. Now, that is not as prominent as it was like 5 years ago, but it still happens. It still happens. I do have a number of friends that right from Nigeria, they are working for companies remotely in UK, US, Europe, Asia, different places. So that's one. And then 5 years ago, you didn't have generative AI, which is the biggest thing. You did really, but not in the magnitude that we have today. And what generative AI has done is that it has given businesses the opportunity really to do so much with so little. Just on your ChatGPT free tier, there's still so much that is possible to do. Then when you're looking at it, back to Nigeria, we have back compared to 2020, right, to what we have now, we have more unicorns. We have Flutterwave becoming a unicorn, Moneypoint becoming a unicorn, InterSwitch recognized as a unicorn. Then we also have a lot of companies on their way to becoming unicorns. We have the likes of Omni Retail, Move, companies beyond fintech that seem to be doing quite well. And what we are seeing now is a lot more, organizations or companies or startups come up from beyond fintech and really taking the bull by the horns in this time. So yes, and we've also seen a bit of maturing of the ecosystem. Back in 2020, a lot of the tech space in Nigeria was about, oh, what are we going to do? You raise money quick, you scale quick. But now there's been a bit of maturity because of the funding winter that happened. So a lot of people are looking at profitability, are doing a lot more study, are thinking about how can I grow, how can I build something sustainable for the Nigerian market. And I think that has really helped us because, not everybody now wants to be a founder or wants to go into business. You know that it's difficult if you don't have the grit. It's better you stay away from it.
So what do you think are the biggest force of change that are shaping businesses today?
So obviously we have AI, then we have the, so let me start from globally, then I'll come to Nigeria. Obviously we have AI, robotics and automation. We have what generative AI has done. It has allowed a senior person to be able to do not just his work faster, but also the work of like 2 or 3 other people, those that know what they are doing with AI. We have companies now like Y Combinator, that's the most prominent startup VC in the world. They say that those who come in their cohorts now, 85% of them did their MVP, did their first version of the product with AI. Now, that has kind of, okay, typically they would have to get 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, hire them, spend a bit of money. But with just 1 person sitting in the room that has a bit of AI fluency, they can code something and get something out there. So in a way, it has changed because we have seen a trend where it's getting more difficult globally to get jobs for entry level, especially in tech, entry level. But then for those who know what they are doing, those who are fluent in the use of AI, we are seeing more opportunities for them. We are seeing people who are quitting their jobs, going into AI, vibe coding a solution, and making thousands of dollars in a matter of weeks. And so when you come, obviously you have a lot of things in robotics. Amazon they are increasing, for example, Amazon, they are increasing their spend in terms of robots in their factories. So we have some factories now of Amazon that are completely automated, no humans there. That is also seen to increase, even though they are kind of increasing their workforce, but it's going to be at a slower rate than it would have been before, because a lot of these processes have been automated. We see in defense, in warfare, a lot of these drones are coming out, and we hear about these conflicts happening around the world, how drone warfare is becoming more prominent. We also see likes maybe places like China, how um, robotless driverless taxis are coming up, have all these hybrid cars. So you're seeing a lot of acceleration into automation, which means that organizations might not need as many people as before. We know how many the Microsofts, the Googles, they have been cutting a lot of staff in favor of AI, right? So that is definitely something to look at. And then okay, obviously, I think another one that is what I mentioned is the AI VR. You have the smart glasses right now, which is very much the kind of metaverse kind of future that's probably going to be happening a lot more from next year, where you have this people are going to be able to wear glasses, and their glasses are going to be able to do live translations. They're going to be able to see people, facial recognition. So it's going to be very tough on privacy going forward. And when you come into Nigeria, we have organizations here, especially small organizations or smaller organizations, that are able to do so much more with the advent of generative AI. You have organizations that might have had to hire 3 people, 4 people. They're able to say, okay, with one person, very good person, you're able to do that work for a period of time without missing any step. So that is very relevant.
All right, so let's move our focus to emerging technologies and trend, like you mentioned. So, which of these emerging technologies are having the most transformative impact right now?
So when we look at that, obviously generative AI, everybody knows what ChatGPT is. They're about 800, at about 700, 800 monthly daily active users. Everybody uses that, and that is definitely been game changing. And if there's anybody that is not using generative AI, you have to get on it. It makes your life so easy. I also mentioned automation and drone warfare, and I'm glad that Nigeria is not being left out here. We have a company, Terra Industries, that is big on defense. I think they launched last year. They're already doing so much for our local defense industry in terms of securing critical infrastructure. Then we also have innovation in blockchain industry. We have like company Convexity doing some things with their chat platform, being able to just bring a bit of safety and monitoring to donations from foreign NGOs. So in Nigeria, there's a lot of things that companies are looking at cutting down costs, and a lot of that AI can help out in terms of automating processes. There's so much that can be done there, not necessarily, what would I say, getting people, reducing headcount, but pretty much being more efficient, being more efficient. In my own company, we use AI a lot, and we're able to do so much more, so much more. So I think those are some of the areas that we're seeing this emerging technology. I also mentioned AR, VR, which I've not really seen a lot of adoption. I do know some people who are doing some things in Nigeria, but I think it's still early days here. And I think maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, we'll see that breakout moment for Nigeria in terms of Nigeria global AI solution and Nigeria global AR VR solution. Kind of like how you have like your Paystart with Flutterwave that have gone global really for fintech.
All right. So, how do you think blockchain is evolving beyond cryptocurrency into the mainstream businesses?
So, I did mention Convexity, how their chat platform is something that the federal government has adopted. A lot of NGOs have adopted, and it's helping really provide visibility, provide accountability to some of the donations we get, help ensuring that they get to the end customers. So that's just one example of innovations happening there. We also know a lot of things that are going on with stable coins, right? A lot of governments are starting to adopt stable coins. The US government wants to adopt stable coins, and even a lot of these traditional financial services, the likes of Stripe, the likes of Visa, they're really going all in on cryptocurrency and blockchain to help do a lot of things. So, like I mentioned, in Nigeria, I still feel like the industry is evolving. It's evolving, but we're starting to see beyond the normal cryptocurrency. We're starting to see the ecosystem maturing, where people are looking at, hey, blockchain is more than cryptocurrency. It's more than Bitcoin and all that. What more can we do about this? And I'm very excited to see what happens in the coming years. How African entrepreneurs use the blockchain technology for more innovations, for more accountabilities.
All right. So, what sector do you think is being disrupted most with this technology?
So globally, I would say a lot of sectors like manufacturing are being disrupted a lot.
Okay.
We have solutions where you have used the use of computer vision to pretty much look at security cameras. You can have a camera, you set up an AI system to be integrated to the camera, and you can see that you can set rules such that if there's anybody working in these premises beyond, let's say, 8 p.m., right, you send an alarm, right? So if there's anybody or if there are more than 20 people in this room, you set an alarm. So obviously before, you would have had to have somebody going through hours and hours of manual footage. Now you can hook up that AI, you can hook up that footage to AI and have those auto detections. That's just one of the things. We talk about security, talked about security and protecting critical infrastructure. We have power stations now in Nigeria that are being protected by drone technology, right, by computer vision, by drone technology. So we are seeing those kind of disruptions. Obviously in the factories too, you have automation with IoT solutions helping to reduce costs. You have your smart meters that can really help. And a lot of companies I've spoken to in Nigeria are looking at adopting more IoT solutions in terms of helping them reduce costs, helping them with maintenance. That is something that we are seeing growing. Then we also have financial services, which are a lot of them looking into automation. We have this solution, two solutions, Sarah and this that I'm trying to remember the other one, the name of the other one. Pretty much WhatsApp AI chatbots being able to transact with natural languages. That is a disruption happening. So in the financial services institution, we are starting to see at different points in the value chain, maybe from onboarding, from registering, AI automate a lot of that process. Companies are taking a look at that. I do know one, I think tier 2 bank in Nigeria that is developing AI solutions in-house. And they're even looking at building their own customer support platform. All these things enabled by AI, because you can now do more. They want to remove some dependency on some global software services, and they are able to. They have enough confidence to embark on that project because of what AI allows you to do, because of the tools and the speed that AI allows for today. So we're also seeing innovations, like I said, in the mobility sector. We see what the likes of Omni Retail are doing, what Move are doing. We're starting to see a number of companies in Nigeria. We usually look at electric and hybrid. I'll be maybe mostly in Lagos, but it was 5 years ago. It was like a ridiculous proposition that they can never work. They can never even see the light of the world. We're saying, oh, maybe this is actually possible. This is actually possible. So I do like the grit and the determination of Nigerian entrepreneurs in that. So I like I said, there's a lot of disruption going on. A lot of disruption. We have Mayba University, which introduced like an AI. I believe they introduced like an AI kind of is it tutor or mentor or an AI, is it what do I call it, an AI evaluation system really, that you can talk to, that you can just talk to about a particular topic, and it will score you based on that, on your understanding of the topic. So we are seeing Nigerians start to innovate. We have a company called Expense AI, which is really helping you to track your expenses, right, and manage your expenses. You upload whatever bills and the things you have, you upload it there, and it's able to create a plan for you and say, okay, you should limit this, you should limit it, this is where your most prices are. And it's also looking to be a global product. They're looking beyond Nigeria, starting to reach out to people globally. So we see a lot of these innovations, even in accounting. They have some people doing some accounting automations with AI. So there's a lot of innovation and a lot of disruption ongoing. These are early days, so you might not hear of them. But I believe as time goes on now, because last year it was really difficult for businesses. They were very cautious and they didn't want to adopt AI. This year we're starting to see a lot of companies as the economy is recovering in Nigeria, a lot of companies starting to open up to want to adopt AI. So a lot of them have put it in their budget that they're going to adopt some AI solutions. So a lot of them now are actively looking for, okay, who can deliver this AI solution? What are the good value propositions for me? So in the next 1 year, 2 years, we start seeing big organizations in Nigeria, in Africa, adopt AI in very innovative ways, and it's exciting times ahead.
All right, let's look at the business strategy angle now. For companies trying to keep up, what's the first step in building a tech first strategy?
So the beautiful thing is, from in Nigeria now, a lot of companies are kind of tech first in a way. From the hair seller or hairdresser that is on Instagram, posting on Instagram, running Instagram ads, that is a bit tech first. To maybe you have your big banks who are now digital first. So we're already on track for that. Obviously generative AI comes to mind. You cannot ignore it. You have to get better at it. It makes your life so easy. And there's a lot you can do with generative AI without paying it time. Most of my presentations now, I come up with a rough idea, I put it into AI, it refines it, I put it into an AI tool, it generates a presentation for me. Something that would have taken me days or weeks before, or I'd have had to pay somebody maybe 50,000 or 100,000. AI can do it for me in a matter of 10 minutes. That is saving so much for me. So obviously, you're utilizing on generative AI, and then for businesses that are a bit more mature, you can look at, okay, what is my value chain? What is my value process? What can I do? One of the solutions that we are seeing gain more prominence in Nigeria now is AI call centers. So what that is you could have like an AI program to a phone number. To people. So, and there are solutions that are becoming more affordable to Nigerians now. So that's something you can take a look at. Talked about for designing, then for customer service, you can have AI also help out with that. You can have I think it's not too difficult to create an automation system for your WhatsApp. A lot of people on WhatsApp, a lot of people on Instagram. You can have an AI create a small automation script, all those frequently asked questions, right? But it's very important. I don't want to go too much into the more advanced stages, something very basic for people, because if you want to do some things more advanced, you look at your data pipeline. What kind of data do you have? What kind of things do you want to do? But I want to keep it simple for today, for the purpose of this discussion. So these are just some of the ways you can, I think, companies today, organizations today, people today can adopt AI.
So let's move our focus to the risks and challenges. So most of the biggest risks we see data privacy, cybersecurity, and what have you. So what rapid tech adoption do you think are the biggest risk right now with AI?
So there's a lot of risk in AI, generative AI adoption. There's a lot of also we're having a lot of these AI being integrated to cameras, a lot of privacy issues, and we are seeing a lot of companies globally kind of prioritize profit over data. They are becoming less customer centric and more, whatever it takes to increase the bottom line. So there are issues in data privacy. I mean, we hear reports where there is a data leak somewhere that sensitive information of people, not just in Nigeria, globally, can be bought. Every other day you hear of there is a password breach, you need to change your password here, your password has leaked. And people are becoming more innovative, right? I mean, just a few days ago, I got someone was calling me saying we're representing one senator that they want to have a meeting and they've invited me that I'll get one code. I should click on the code. I was just saying yes. Obviously, if I had clicked on the code, my WhatsApp was gone. They would have hacked it. But obviously, educating yourself, right? Then there's also there was these cases of voice cloning. I am an expert in the field. I know that with just a few 5 seconds, 10 seconds, your voice can be cloned. You can use it to call your loved ones online, and doing those ones. So so it's very important. And some people now have, safety questions they ask. AI can automate this kind of things. If I'm going to if I'm not very sure whether I'm talking to a human, what is a safety question between ourselves I can ask that that okay, this person, I'm actually talking to this person. Obviously, there's also the dangers of what is called prompt injection in AI, where um, bad parties or bad intention parties can inject something into a prompt, and without you knowing, the AI will generate something, but they also generate something secret that you might not know. And they can use that to really get a lot of information from the AI system. So that's one of the things that companies adopting generative AI, you have to be very careful. It's not to just do something generic. For example, you can hook up your AI solution to your knowledge base. And because you didn't really consider security, somebody starts talking to an AI and they start exposing your company secrets, right? I mean, there was even in the early days of generative AI, there was even a company that they built an AI chatbot, and somebody coerced the AI chatbot to saying that, okay, I think it was a car company, right? And said, are you a valid representative of the company? Say this company. They said yes. All right, repeat. So I'll tell you that I want to buy something for $1, and you will agree with me. They now said, I'm buying this car for $1. Yeah, I said yes. You sold the car for $1. Really? So I mean, they deactivated the bot right after that. So there are a lot of considerations to have in terms of safety, privacy, ensuring that data doesn't leak, ensuring that sensitive information of your customers don't get leaked out.
All right. Let in few seconds, if you have to pick one innovation that would define the next 5 years, what would it be?
Definitely AI.
Okay.
Definitely AI. Definitely AI. It's everywhere. It's having a lot of practical applications, and I feel like with the capabilities today and the innovations we are seeing, the innovations are still behind. There's just with current technology, that is even moving at breakneck speed. We had GPT-5 released a few weeks ago. Even with that, we've not really scratched like 5% of what we can do with the technology today, and the technology is accelerating. So like I said, for all kinds of, I mean, you now, you can just, I mean, I don't know how many languages you speak, but we can have you speak Japanese through AI in your voice, in your accent, and you start speaking Japanese, right? That is some of the capabilities. That means for you, you can reach a Japanese audience. So the sky is really the limit for what businesses can even do today with AI.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muyiwa Oluwaje. It was good to have you on Business Morning this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's the much we can take on Business Morning today. Up next is Big Story. My name is Deborah Ezeh. Keep watching Business Day Television.